That's enough, Gordon! Let them go!
In the comments of a video I made recently, somebody pointed out how they never noticed how the theme of love played in a scene of the Fire Emblem OVA, and that got me thinking about what positive aspects the OVA actually had, since it was quite a good rendition of the iconic song. The OVA is usually regarded as trash and reserved for memes, but I decided to sit down, watch it again, and really see what this OVA has to offer. So, let's begin. I really like how the mood is set right away as the tension builds while Marth and friends are running away, while Altea is burning down. Once Marth is trapped, the beautiful remix of the theme of love starts playing. However, like me, you probably noticed that the mood in that scene is completely killed by the fact that the enemies are grunting randomly and obnoxiously. And this is a very, very common thing throughout the OVA. You'll notice this a lot. Then, once the show begins for real, we get shown Marth's life on Talos while a bard describes the Desert of Death from Anri's Way. This shows that the creators of the show took Arcanea's full story into account from the get-go, showing potential for foreshadowing that wasn't there in the games. Also, I must say the Desert of Death is quite a good way to describe that particular chapter. This scene also sets up Marth's character, showing his feelings of inadequacy compared to his ancestors, and is helped by a flashback where Zed calls him weak moments later.
Punch!
I quite like this setup, as in the games, Marth just sort of begins his adventure and we don't get to learn a lot about him early on. However, this scene also introduces the worst character change in the OVA, Bratty Sita. She acts rude towards Marth and is very inconsiderate of his feelings. This is nothing like the Sita we know from the games, and can be quite annoying.
Hey! Were you daydreaming while I talked to you? You probably didn't hear a word I said, did you?
Sorry, but I'm listening now.
Never mind.
This is also where the pacing issues begin. Marth and Sita have a playdate for 3 whole minutes before the next interesting thing happens in this 26-minute episode. Yes, it's important to establish their relationship, but I feel like, in general, the OVA wastes a lot of time on scenes that could be shorter, as we'll see more examples of in the near future. Then, in a flashback, we see another cool scene we didn't get to see in the games, the fall of Marth's father. The dark skies here set the mood perfectly, and we get to see the effects of Grah's betrayal firsthand. The real draw of this flashback, though, is Garnet. For such a big player in the story of Arcanea, in the original games he doesn't show up until chapter 15, and even then can be easily avoided. And then he's a non-issue until you get Starlight and defeat him. However, by showing us him in the first episode, we can see how big of a threat he truly is as he toys with King Cornelius. We also get to see the full power of the Imhulu tome in all of its raw animated form as the screams of the damned painfully consume King Cornelius. This scene is stunning. I have no complaints.
Oh, brave words. It's really such a pity that I don't have the time to kill you more slowly. And now you die.
After this flashback, we get a War Council meeting, which helps establish the personalities of the supporting cast. I quite like this scene, as in the original Arcanea games, the characters didn't really have personalities. But now we get introduced to their ones for the show, with Gordon being the young, energetic, goofy guy, Doga being strong and blunt, etc. I have to say that I honestly enjoy the personalities given to these characters in the OVA more than I do in the modern mainline games, where Gordon's title in Shadow Dragon is Ungagged, and in New Mystery his shtick is that he has a baby face and is embarrassed about it. While there are some obvious downgrades like Seda, I do like the new life the OVA has given Marth's posse. After a sudden revelation that Talos is being attacked, Marth has to make the choice to defend it. and his decision to do so is quite a satisfying payoff after how other characters called him weak and useless earlier in the episode, and the swelling music makes it very exciting.
Mars, I beg you, save Talus, save my father!
We will.
But my prince, if we fight now, then Dahura will surely become aware of our troops hidden here in Talus.
Jaken, we must repay the debt that we owe to the King of Talus. The time has come to fight for freedom.
And I suppose this old warrior must do as his prince commands.
Jaken.
However, the fight itself is quite underwhelming. After 16 minutes of serious build-up and watching Marth finally make the decision to be brave, the first minute of the fight is treated like a joke, where Gordon spouts more of his iconic lines.
Nuts! 5 points!
Then Seda is made out to be a damsel in distress when in the games she's a combat god and very strong. Even before the wing spear, she could use silver lances at base in FE3. The butchering of Seda's character is quite annoying, but at least we finally get to see Marth take on a serious challenger while a cool remix of the boss theme plays. Right?
Don't move.
Well then, Ogma suddenly appears, kills the boss, and steals Marth's spotlight. While Ogma and his posse are quite cool in the scene, having Marth's spotlight stolen from him, especially having that happen after all that build-up, is quite anticlimactic. However, the episode ends on a positive note where we get to see some of Seda's persuasion skills that are a very important part of her character, and the ending has a very hopeful feeling, like this will be the start of a long and glorious adventure. Now, onto episode 2. The episode begins with Navarre and some generics staring at each other for a full minute. I guess the budget decreased for this episode since this happens frequently, but at least we get to see Navarre's skills, which we never get to see in the game, and the beginning of Lena's imprisonment, which we also never get to see in the game. So the extra details like this are quite cool. After the intro, we see Marth quickly deal with the equivalent of Chapter 2 as he tears through the pirates quickly, getting to the point, unlike last episode, which I greatly appreciate. And of course, Gordon says more things. However, Castor was cut from this part, which I don't understand, since it would have been a good showcase of how Seda's persuasion skills would have been useful to Marth's army. It's a real missed opportunity. After this fight, we get a really awkward zoom in on Marth's face, which is, again, another scene where time is being wasted by still shots. The pacing of this episode has been quite baffling so far. Going back to Navarre, we get more insight on his personality through his nightmare, showing how he may feel some remorse about his killings and his fears. I'm really enjoying this adaptation of Navarre so far when compared to the games. He really has a lot going on here. We also gain insight on the start of Julian and Lena's relationship, which I find quite adorable. Overall, I'm enjoying the B story with Navarre and Julian a lot more than the A story with Marth's posse. Going back to Marth's posse, we get more character moments with Doga, Gordon, Kane, and Abel. All their interactions are quite nice, but then we get more bratty Seda. At least in the middle of bratty Seda, we get shown some of Ogma's origin, which again, we never see in the games, only heard about it. So far, this has been the real strength of the OVA that I've enjoyed a lot. Then we cut back to Julian and his escape with Lena, and it's in this scene where we get to see Doofy Julian. I'm gonna have to put this down in the Seda side of new characterizations, since in the games Julian is shown to be cool and confident. This scene is when Navarre really deviates from the game, since Navarre helps Julian escape before he's recruited by Seda, showing that he does care deep down. However, in the very next scene, Julian is injured and the bandits have Lena. What? You can show us your awkward camera shot of Marth's face, but not an important scene that sets up the next battle? Anyway, of course Marth agrees to help Julian. So, the big battle begins, and we're shown wood shaking for an extended period of time. Yep, this is real important. Then after like 30 seconds, you would think the battle is over after Gordon's "Yaha!" right?
Yaha!
Yeah.
Wrong. After we see Julian getting Lena's men's staff back, we suddenly cut back to a raging battle, shown through still images. Real intense stuff here. Then in a moment I found quite confusing, Julian is surprised that Navarre helps Lena, even though he had just helped them previously about an hour earlier. Either this is a writing oversight, or Julian is the biggest Nimrod on the planet, and I'm betting it's the first option.
Miss Lena, thank God you weren't hurt!
Yes, that strange swordsman rescued me again.
Naval rescued you?
However, the next scene shows a cool fight in the beginning of Ogma and Navarre's rivalry, something that was only spoken about in the games, and we finally get to see some of Sita's bravery. Finally, after the battle is over, our heroes are ready for the next adventure, as the music swells and a cool final shot of all of our heroes play out.
Look, sire, we're finally here.
Yes, it's Orleans.
Only a few days more now.
So, in the end, while the show lives on in infamy today, there are a few aspects that I think are worthy of praise. The art was good for the most part, the new personalities given to the characters were fun, Garneff's brutality was amazing to see, seeing scenes we never would have seen in the games was very interesting, and the new renditions of all the music was incredible. However, then you have stuff like Bratty Sita, Doofy Julian, very awkward shots, and horrendous, and I mean horrendous pacing. So, should a Fire Emblem anime be given a second chance? Probably not. Since Fire Emblem 4 we've had much more compelling characters. Fire Emblem 6 introduced supports, so the cast doesn't really need external sources to be fleshed out, and a lot of the supports in the series are quite compelling. Most of the time. So, in the context of modern Fire Emblem, I feel like we see everything we need to see in the game itself. But that doesn't mean I don't think the series shouldn't have continued, as there are still many more things it could have shown us, like the downfall of Hardin, Linda and her father, the relationship between Minerva and Machillis, the list goes on and on. While many things were very underwhelming, I believe the show could have improved over its run like many other shows have, and we could have seen the full Arcanea saga unfold. So no, I don't think this Fire Emblem OVA was that bad, and it ending so soon was quite sad. However, with Fire Emblem's growing popularity around the world, who knows what the future holds for the franchise. This has been 5 Points. Remember to subscribe if you like what you see, and bye-bye.